The Masai Mara National Reserve in Kenya is one of Africa's most spectacular wildlife sanctuaries, home to lions, elephants, giraffes, and countless other species living in their natural habitat. But on August 12, 2023, this pristine wilderness became the setting for an extraordinary drama that would challenge everything wildlife experts thought they knew about lion behavior and maternal instinct. Dr. Sarah Kimani, a 39-year-old Kenyan wildlife veterinarian with 15 years of experience, was conducting routine health assessments of the reserve's lion prides when she received an urgent radio call. A Maasai herder named Joseph Lakarian had discovered something alarming near his village on the reserve's boundary: a lion cub trapped at the bottom of a 12-meter deep water well. "When I got the call, my first thought was about the cub's survival," Sarah recalled months later. 12 meters is a deadly fall for a young cub. But my second thought was even more concerning. Where was the mother? A lioness separated from her cub is one of the most dangerous animals on Earth. Sarah assembled an emergency rescue team consisting of herself, 2 Kenya Wildlife Service rangers named Daniel Kiprono and James Muchwa, and a local Maasai guide, Thomas Olan Kama, who knew the terrain intimately. They loaded specialized equipment into their land cruiser: rope systems, sedation equipment, protective gear, and most importantly, a custom-designed animal rescue cage that could be lowered into confined spaces. The drive to the location took 45 minutes through rough terrain. When they arrived, they found a scene that immediately elevated their concern. The well was located in a small clearing surrounded by acacia trees. Most alarmingly, they could hear the distinctive, anguished roaring of an adult lioness somewhere in the nearby brush, the unmistakable sound of a mother searching for her missing offspring. "That roaring sent chills down my spine," Daniel admitted. "I've worked with lions for 12 years, and I can tell you that sound, that particular vocalization, means extreme distress and potential aggression. That lioness knew her cub was nearby, but she couldn't reach it." Thomas, the Maasai guide, peered carefully down into the well using a high-powered flashlight. At the bottom, barely visible in the darkness, was a small tawny shape. A lion cub, approximately 4 months old, huddled in about half a meter of water. The cub was alive but clearly exhausted, having likely been trapped for several hours, possibly since the previous night. "The cub probably fell in during darkness," Sarah explained. "Young cubs are curious and clumsy. They investigate everything. This well should have been covered, but many of these older wells in rural areas lack proper protection. It's a tragedy waiting to happen." The rescue team faced a complex dilemma. They needed to extract the cub quickly. It was showing signs of hypothermia from the cold water and exhaustion from trying to climb the smooth walls. But they also had to contend with an increasingly agitated mother lion who was getting closer, drawn by her cub's distressed calls echoing from the well. "Our protocol in situations like this is to tranquilize the adult animal first for everyone's safety," Sarah explained. But there was a problem. We couldn't get a clear shot. The lioness was moving through dense brush, and tranquilizer darts are only effective with precise placement. A poorly placed dart could take too long to work, or worse, could cause the lioness to become more aggressive before the sedation takes effect. They made a difficult decision: attempt the rescue while the mother was nearby but not yet in direct sight, working as quickly as possible. Daniel and James began setting up the rope system, anchoring it securely to their vehicle and to sturdy nearby trees. Sarah prepared the rescue cage, a cylindrical metal container with a spring-loaded door that could be opened and closed via a rope mechanism. Check if you're already subscribed to this channel, because these incredible real stories of wildlife rescue and the surprising ways animals respond to human compassion reveal the deep connections we share with the natural world. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss these extraordinary encounters between humans and wildlife. Thomas positioned himself as a lookout, watching for the lioness while maintaining radio contact with the rest of the team. "She's circling," he reported quietly. "Maybe 60 meters out. She knows we're here. She can smell us. She's trying to decide if we're a threat to her cub." Sarah lowered herself partially into the well using a harness system, just far enough to assess the cub's condition without going all the way down. "The cub is responsive but weak," she called up to her team. "We need to move fast. I'm going down." Daniel immediately objected. "Sarah, that's too dangerous. If the mother attacks while you're in the well, you'll be trapped. Let me go. I'm expendable." "Nobody's expendable," Sarah shot back firmly, And I'm the veterinarian. I'm the one trained to handle the cub safely. Lower me down, now." With Daniel and James managing the ropes, Sarah descended into the darkness of the well. The smell was overwhelming: stagnant water, fear, and the distinctive scent of young lion. As she reached the bottom, her boots splashing in the cold water, the cub let out a pitiful cry, not aggressive but terrified and exhausted. "Easy, little one," Sarah whispered, approaching slowly. "I'm here to help. Your mama is waiting for you up there." Lion cubs at 4 months are still relatively small, but they have sharp claws and teeth, and even a frightened cub can inflict serious injuries. Sarah had to balance speed with caution. She opened the rescue cage and carefully, using techniques learned from years of experience, she wrapped the cub in a thick blanket to protect herself from claws and to calm the animal through gentle restraint. The cub struggled initially, but exhaustion had taken its toll. Within moments, Sarah had secured it in the rescue cage. "Pulling up," she shouted to her team above. That's when everything changed. As the cage began rising, carrying the cub toward the surface, a thunderous roar split the air, much closer than before. The lioness had emerged from the brush and was now visible, approximately 30 meters away, her eyes fixed on the well where her cub's cries were emanating. "Lioness in sight," Thomas shouted urgently. "She's approaching fast." Daniel pulled his tranquilizer rifle, trying to get a clear shot. But the lioness was moving in an unpredictable pattern, pacing back and forth, clearly torn between her instinct to attack potential threats and her desire to reach her cub. Sarah, still at the bottom of the well and unable to see what was happening above, could hear the commotion. "Keep pulling," she commanded. "Get that cub up! I'm right behind it!" The cage reached the surface and James quickly swung it away from the well opening. The cub inside was crying loudly now, calling for its mother. James began pulling Sarah up on her harness rope as quickly as safely possible. Then something extraordinary happened, something that none of the experienced wildlife professionals had ever witnessed before. The lioness, instead of attacking, suddenly stopped about 10 meters from the rescue team. She sat down. Her aggressive posture disappeared. She was watching intently, her ears forward, completely focused on the cage containing her cub, but she made no move to attack. "I've never seen anything like it," Daniel said later, his voice still filled with wonder. "She seemed to understand we were helping. It defied everything I know about lion behavior." Sarah emerged from the well, and the team now faced their most critical moment. They had the cub, but they were in an exposed position, with an adult lioness less than 10 meters away. Standard protocol would be to transport the cub to the vehicle immediately, but Sarah made an instinctive decision that would shock wildlife experts worldwide. "Open the cage," she said quietly. "What?" James looked at her as if she'd lost her mind. "Sarah, we need to check the cub for injuries. Treat it for hypothermia." "Open the cage," Sarah repeated more firmly. "Look at her. She's not going to attack. She's waiting. She knows we helped her baby. We need to trust this moment." With trembling hands, James opened the rescue cage's door. The cub, sensing freedom and smelling its mother, immediately scrambled out and ran toward the lioness, crying loudly. What happened next left the entire team in tears. The mother lioness rushed forward to meet her cub. They collided in a tumble of fur and emotion, the lioness licking her baby frantically, examining it, making low rumbling vocalizations that sounded almost like purring. The cub pressed against its mother, clearly desperate for comfort and reassurance. Then the lioness did something that defied all logical explanation. She looked directly at Sarah and the rescue team. For a long moment, their eyes met, human and wild predator, separated by less than 8 meters. The lioness made a soft chuffing sound, a vocalization that lion researchers associate with non-aggressive communication. "She was thanking us," Sarah said later, her voice thick with emotion. "I know that sounds anthropomorphic and unscientific, but I've worked with lions my entire career. What I saw in that lioness's eyes wasn't aggression or fear. It was recognition, understanding, gratitude." The lioness picked up her cub gently by the scruff of its neck and began walking back toward the bush. After about 20 meters, she stopped, looked back at the humans one more time, then disappeared into the acacia thicket with her baby. The rescue team stood in stunned silence for several minutes, processing what they had just experienced. "In all my years working in this reserve," Thomas said quietly, "I have never seen such a thing. The elders tell stories of lions who understood human intentions, but I always thought they were just stories. Now I know they're not. The incident was documented with photos and video, which Sarah later shared with the international wildlife research community. The response was overwhelming. Dr. Marcus Johansson, a leading lion behavior expert from South Africa, called it one of the most remarkable documented cases of apparent cross-species understanding and trust. What makes this extraordinary, Dr. Johansson explained in a published analysis, is that lionesses with cubs are typically hyper-aggressive toward any perceived threat. The normal behavior would have been for that lioness to attack immediately. The fact that she not only refrained from attacking, but seemed to understand that these humans were helping her cub challenges our assumptions about animal cognition and emotional intelligence. But the story didn't end there. Over the following weeks, something remarkable happened. Sarah and her team returned to the area several times to monitor the well, which was properly covered following the incident, and to observe the local lion pride. They were stunned to discover that the same lioness, identifiable by distinctive markings on her face, seemed to recognize them. On 3 separate occasions when we encountered that particular lioness with her pride, she displayed no aggression toward our vehicle, Sarah documented in her field notes. With other humans or vehicles, she maintained normal, cautious distance. But when she saw our specific vehicle and, I believe, recognized us, her behavior was noticeably different, relaxed, even curious. The rescued cub, which Sarah had nicknamed Shuja, Swahili for brave, thrived. Wildlife cameras set up in the area captured images of the healthy young lion growing stronger each week, always close to its attentive mother. The incident sparked important conversations about human-wildlife coexistence in Kenya. Local communities, seeing how the rescue team had saved the cub, became more invested in wildlife protection. Joseph Lekarian, the herder who first reported the trapped cub, became a local advocate for proper well maintenance and wildlife safety. Before this, many people in my village saw lions only as threats to our livestock, Joseph explained during a community meeting months later. But when we saw that mother lion's reaction, when we saw her understand that these humans saved her baby, it changed something in us. We realized these animals have feelings, families, love, just like us. The incident also had personal impact on the rescue team members. Daniel, who had been considering leaving wildlife work for a more lucrative career, decided to stay. "How can I leave after experiencing something like that?" he said. That moment when the lioness looked at us, when she chose trust over aggression. That's why I do this work. That's what makes it meaningful. For Sarah, the experience reinforced her life's mission. People often ask me why I risk my life working with dangerous animals. She reflected. That day at the well is my answer. We share this planet with remarkable beings capable of complex emotions and unexpected understanding. Building bridges of trust with wildlife isn't just about conservation. It's about recognizing the profound connections that exist between all living things. 6 months after the rescue, Sarah received an unexpected honor. The Kenya Wildlife Service awarded her and her team the National Wildlife Conservation Medal for their courageous rescue and for demonstrating exemplary human-wildlife coexistence. At the ceremony in Nairobi, Sarah used her acceptance speech to address a larger issue. "This medal honors one rescue," she said, "but there are countless animals in danger every day, trapped in wells, caught in snares, injured by vehicles, threatened by habitat loss. The real heroes aren't those of us who get medals. The real heroes are the local communities who learn to live alongside wildlife, who report animals in danger, who choose coexistence over conflict." She continued, her voice growing stronger. "That lioness taught us something profound. She taught us that wild animals can recognize compassion. They can understand help. They can choose trust. If a wild predator can make that choice, then surely we humans can choose to protect and respect the wildlife we share this planet with." The story of Shuja and the grateful lioness has become part of Masai Mara's living legend, told to tourists and locals alike. The well site, now properly secured, has a small memorial plaque describing what happened there, a reminder of the day when the boundaries between human and wild dissolved, when a mother's love transcended species, and when rescuers and rescued found unexpected common ground. A year after the incident, Sarah returned to the area and caught a glimpse of Shuja, now a robust juvenile lion, playing with siblings while the mother watched protectively nearby. Through her binoculars, Sarah could see the distinctive white patch on the cub's chest that she'd noticed during the rescue. Seeing Shuja alive and thriving, part of a strong pride, reminded me why wildlife conservation matters, Sarah said. Every animal we save, every life we protect, has value beyond what we can measure. That cub might grow up to be a pride leader, might have cubs of its own, might live for 15 years in the wild, all because a team cared enough to spend hours rescuing one small lion from a well. Thomas, the Maasai guide, offered a more philosophical perspective rooted in his culture's deep connection to wildlife. We Maasai have lived alongside lions for thousands of years. We respect them, sometimes fear them, occasionally come into conflict with them. But that day, we saw something our ancestors spoke of, the moment when lion and human recognized each other not as enemies, but as fellow parents, fellow beings trying to protect what we love. The incident has been incorporated into wildlife rescue training programs across East Africa. The video footage is now used to teach wildlife workers about reading animal behavior, about taking calculated risks, and about the importance of trusting instinct even when it contradicts standard protocol. Dr. Kamani frequently speaks at conservation conferences worldwide, and she always includes the story of Shuja. That rescue taught me that the line between wild and domestic, between animal and human understanding, is far more permeable than we assume, she tells audiences. When we approach wildlife with respect rather than dominance, with compassion rather than fear, extraordinary things become possible. The lioness and her pride continue to thrive in the Maasai Mara, part of one of the world's most important lion populations. And somewhere in that vast savannah, a young lion who once fell into darkness and was lifted back into light continues its wildlife, a living testament to human compassion and the unexpected wisdom of a grateful mother. If you watched until here, it's because you enjoyed this story. Leave a comment saying, "I watched until here," so I can get to know you and know who really enjoys the stories here on the channel. And if this incredible story of wildlife rescue and the lioness who showed remarkable understanding moved your heart, hit the like button and share this video with someone who loves animals and needs to see proof that compassion transcends all boundaries. Subscribe for more extraordinary true stories that celebrate the amazing connections between humans and the wild creatures we share this planet with.